I'd like to call this meeting to order. Any motions we'd like to entertain for executive session?
I'll move to executive session.
Motion made by Mr. Valdez. Second. Second by Al Berrial. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We're going to executive session. Okay, sir. Go ahead. Okay, I'll call this meeting back to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stay standing for the invocation. Dear God, we pray for the parents of the 33 children that lost their lives at Virginia Tech this morning. We also ask you, God, to give power and that to shed the courage on the candidates and the incumbents, the city elections coming up in May. Also that you may guide them with ethical and integrity in their governing style. Also bless the PUB employees and the PUB servicing Brownsville, Texas. Amen. Amen. At this, John, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, we, like always, like I have followed my past chairman, Valdez, in bringing the public comment to the beginning of the meeting. At this moment, we're honored to have a public comment from Mr. Mauro Ruiz. Sir, to the podium, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. 5 minutes, sir.
Probably less than that, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Sanchez, member of the board, Mr. Buziak, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fernando Ruiz. I am an advocate of good government. I think this is the first time I've come to the PUB meeting in a long time. And the reason I am here today is to the invitation Mr. Sanchez sent me on the Brownsville Herald. And I want to congratulate you, sir, for being so open and trying to get the constituency to participate in the political process. This is what we really need. And, well, here I am today. I was attending a political forum, and one of the candidates, I had 2 questions for him. And at that time, he was not unable to answer me. So next day we met, and he brought me this piece of paper. And this was about the debt issued by the PUB. And I have a figure here of $318 million. When did this happen? On whose watch? I am from Brownsville and I've lived here all my life. There are statutes, government code that governs the issuance of bonds. And as far as I can remember, I read the paper every day. I never saw anything addressing the debt that the PUB has. $318 million. Payback, sir, is close to $1 billion. Who authorized this debt? The constituency does not authorize this debt. Who is responsible for this? Where is the oversight? We have the board members here that are appointed by the city commission. But the city commission is not absolute, and the board is not autonomous. We have the constituency to answer to. We are the government. We are the municipal government. the people of this community. We have the politicians and we have the bureaucracy, but we are the government. And it is a shame that there is apathy in attending meetings and in voting and in following the political process. Someone has to answer, at least to me, because I care. I care about Brownsville, and I care about the poor people of Brownsville. You know that this is one of the most oppressed areas in the country. These people, back in the old days, they used to make $20 a week. How much did they pay into Social Security? How many of these people get their life disconnected because they are unable to pay? I have encountered that situation with my neighbor. And I asked, "Sir, it's cold out here today." The supervisor was trembling. And I said, "How can you disconnect the life to these people? Are you doing this to other people in my community?" We have elder persons. We have maybe women or persons that are sick, women that are pregnant. We have babies in the homes. And a lot of these people don't have these brick veneer homes. You know, the cold air passes through them, you know. They're cold. And we are disconnected in 150 per day. We need some oversight. We need some accountability. And I'm going to ask this board, sir, and I'm going to request to this board that the proper authorities, I don't know if it's the Texas Rangers or the FBI or who, we need to investigate this. This is a lot of money. And you know what's happening? I have asked a commissioner, Mr. Hernandez, "Sir, what happened in New York? What did you go to New York for?" I understand that you came back and you got 1% better interest on the note. What note? Did you renegotiate the debt? The only way you could have gotten a better interest if you purchased insurance. Miss Emma Trevino didn't know that.
Okay, Mr. Ruiz, just 10 more seconds since your 5 minutes is up. 10 seconds
Okay.
to finish up.
So then, I'm going to ask this board that we need some oversight and we need to address this matter with the proper authorities, because the people of Brownsville need to know where this $1 billion we have to pay is going to come from.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your passion for the city of Brownsville. Appreciate that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome everyone to the PUB board meeting. I want to thank all of y'all for attending this meeting. I want to brief you on the 80th session of the Texas Legislature has been meeting, and the PUB has been following legislation that is very important to us. I had previously reported that I had been to Austin to visit with our legislators and earned support for our bills. I am happy to report that the bill that would allow the Southmost Regional Water Authority to pursue regional wastewater facilities is being voted out of the Committee on Natural Resources on a unanimous vote, and is pending a vote by the full House. We expect this bill to pass, and it would give us another method of addressing the need for additional wastewater treatment facilities in and around the Brownsville area. This past week, we had a visit from Fitch Rating Agency representatives. They were in town for a very short visit and met with PUB staff to review the financial progress of the PUB. Overall, they were pleased with the financial performance of PUB and stated that they will be reviewing the credit rating issued to the PUB. It is our desire to have a better credit rating, which would help us with saving money in the future as we look to finance capital projects. The Texas H2O March 2007 issue of the American Water Works Association had an article on the Rio Grande Regional Saltwater Desalination Pilot Project. The article prominently featured Brownsville and the efforts to lead the desalination initiative launched by Governor Rick Perry in April 2002. I want to report that the PUB will be kicking off its strategic plan development and implementation project with meetings in May. Board members, staff, and community stakeholders will be participating in the project. This project will take 5 to 6 months to complete and will be a framework for the Brownsville Public Utility Board and management to make key policy decisions, allocate resources, and measure performance. And I also want to mention on the residential utility bills, I'm getting a lot of comments throughout the community, just very pleased with the public utility bills on their lower utility bills. They've shown some lower utility bills that are reflected in the residential bills in the last 3 months. And, you know, many have come forward, and we thank you for showing the appreciation to the PUB. Also, you know, get ready because we're now in April, and in early May are the city elections, and I just want to encourage all to go out there and vote. With 189,000 citizens in the city of Brownsville, it's sad sometimes to see just that 6,000 to 8,000 people vote. Sure would like to see more voters out there. I know there's way more registered voters than the voters that actually go out to the polls. So I encourage family members and friends and neighbors to get on out there and show your support for Brownsville and vote for proper candidates. Okay, we now move on to the General Manager's report, Mr. John Brusiak.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, a couple of things. I'm going to ask Leandro Garcia to do the financial report quickly, as in your other attachments.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Leandro Garcia. I am the Chief Financial Officer for Brownsville PUB. Before I go over the February financial results, I'd like to follow up on PUB's completion of their annual comprehensive annual financial report. We did complete that and submit the report to the Texas Municipal Advisory Council, our depository, for further dissemination to investors, the investor market community. We, as Mr. Sanchez mentioned, we also presented that report to our rating agencies, of which one took an interest and did visit with us last week. And that was a very worthwhile, very beneficial visit. We did brief them on the CAFR, the current year's activity. Also want to mention that our comprehensive annual financial report is available on BPUB's website. We have structured the report to include significant additional schedules, of which they range from highlighting projects that are currently underway, the 2006 activity, as well as debt that we have issued. It does highlight the various issues that are outstanding that total to $318 million. We do also have available on our website rating agency reports, and we can make available as well any official statement that has been issued pursuant to any debt that has been authorized by the board and the city commission. So with that, I want to make sure that our public viewing audience knows that we do have information available on our internet site, and I'm available as well as finance staff to follow up and have further discussions and clarifications.
Leandro, the 318 includes the $42 million for the additional 54 megawatts we bought, which is going to lower utility rates for the citizens.
318 included as a 9/30/2006 long-term revenue bonds. At 9/30, we still had the $42 million as short-term, and we had an offsetting escrow account.
So that's about $361 million.
So that is added to the 318. Now, 318 does include approximately $30 million of Southmost. So 290 PUB infrastructure improvements, plans and over the years what we've issued for infrastructure.
And I provided those figures to the gentleman. They include long-term, short-term, and Southmost regional water supply.
It did not include the $42 million. So 318 plus 42, of which now it's 40.
Short-term.
Right.
Short-term. Right. The other thing is, this debt was accrued overnight. It was a long process, but we have projects which are very expensive to do, like for instance, the upgrade of the power lines from 69 kV to 68 kV to 169 kV. That was a $17 million project, okay? But that was to better service our customers. And it's, utility infrastructure is very, very expensive.
This industry is very capital intensive. We have assets in our books, well over $600 million. Net assets of $210 million, which, after you consider the debt, so it is a well-managed organization. When you look at the ratios, debt to equity, which are key indicators the investor community looks at, we fare very well. By no means are we well above the industry. As a matter of fact, we're below when you look at debt to equity ratios. One has to look at the total system requirements, and it is capital intensive. $600+ million in assets, 318. Yes, it is a good chunk of money, but a lot of it is 25-year term bonds. So we do manage the rate structure and rate design to make it affordable, as affordable as you can during the long term.
And the citizens need to know also that we did approximately about $91 million of capital improvements for water and wastewater over a period of 16, 17 years, that we were only collecting $270, $280 per unit, which we were subsidizing 97%, I guess. So, I mean, those kind of capital improvement costs has an adverse impact, but it's still manageable. And we're taking steps right now to make it a little more fair and equitable to the citizens, the ratepayers, by bringing out the issue of the impact fee, the need to raise the impact fee to where we're not incurring as much debt, but we're recouping the cost for the capital improvements needed for future growth. So that's a different approach we're taking as compared to where when we first got, all of us first got onto the board, which may be part of the debt that we've been inheriting. So I mean, perhaps we can't do nothing about the past, but I think we're learning from the past and taking the right steps in the future with Mr. Guevara, Robert, Al, and Chris, and the mayor who was here during his term to find ways to manage better our resources and give better service and keep up with the capital improvements needed that this type of company, utility company, requires, which is very expensive.
That is correct. We have looked at other ways of funding requirements, or through internal generated cash, through fees. So we do recognize the burden on our customers with our current debt and rate structure, but as we do our long-term plan, the strategic business plan, hopefully we'll identify alternative financing methods, either internal generated funds, grants, or somehow accommodate some fees in their more specific user related.
And finally, this is not to say that we're going to be accepting the status quo, but we're always looking at ways to improve. And there's always ways to manage better resources. And with the help of this board and the citizens, we'll continue with that plan with your help, the management, the board, the staff, which has done very well, in my opinion. I really appreciate it.
Last bucket gets the final surplus, which is at $423,000. When you compare planned expenditures, planned revenues, actual revenues, and then those to actual last year, for example here, our actual net operating revenues were $64 million, down by 7.7 compared to budgeted at $71.7 million, and less than 9.3 million less than the same period of last year. This, of course, is due to a lower than expected wholesale revenue market, as well as lower fuel and energy costs, fuel costs. On the gross revenue, $68.3 million came in at 6.7, less than the $75 million anticipated, and 8.6 million under last year's numbers. Our adjusted gross revenues, which is after backing out fuel costs, wholesale, energy expenses, and Southmost, as you can see, it came out ahead of planned revenues. $40.2 million compared to $39.8 million, a $400,000 variance there, and as well as a $2.6 million favorable variance compared to the actual 2006. On the fuel and energy cost here, as I mentioned, based on gas prices staying stable during this period, we came in at $3.4 million less than budgeted, $22.6 million versus 26, and $7 million under last year's requirements for the same month. O&M expense, I'm very pleased to announce we have managed to continue a favorable balance here. We spent $15.7 million, which is $2.9 million under the planned $18.6 million through February. A little higher than last year, $500,000, but well below the budgeted through February. Available balance to surplus exceeds our planned expectations here by $3.8 million for the year, $12.1 million versus 8.3. The balance available to PUB of $9.9 million exceeds the planned contribution by $3.8 million, and also exceeds last year's $7.4 million actual. It's a $2.5 million favorable variance there. Actual cash to the city, transfer to the city, is pretty much in line with the planned amount here through February. This just shows the contributions by electric, water, and wastewater to our surplus. 9.4 coming in from electric, 700,000 water, and $2 million wastewater. Consumption for the month took an upward trend here, going from approximately 92 million kWh in January up to 102 in February. Very unexpected upward trend here compared to last year, which shows here as a dip from January to February. Water as well took an upward trend here, going from about 494,000 gallons for the month compared to 535. Last year we achieved the 468 actual for February, so an upward trend there as well. Wastewater pretty much patterns last year's collections there at 332,000 gallons. CIP activity through February, we have currently a $60.5 million CIP program spending plan. We've achieved $11 million in expenditures and encumbrances for February, which reflects an 18.4% achievement rate. With that, I will take any questions.
Any questions, board members? No questions. Thank you, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will return to item number 1, action taken on items discussed in closed meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, there was no action taken in executive session. Now, at this moment, we have one more public comment, and it's from Mr. Moises Gonzalez, a gentleman with a young family here in Brownsville and a professional. Mr. Gonzalez, welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to the board. I want to say hello and let everybody know that I am a resident of Brownsville. I thought it was important to come speak here today because I wanted to tell a story to the board and to everybody here about PUB. Last month I received a phone call from my wife. She calls me on the cell phone. She tells me, "Did you have a chance to look at our PUB bill?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And I was already frustrated and started to get upset. And I said, "Don't tell me that our rates went up again, or we have to pay more this month." She said, "No. On the contrary, it went down." And I said, "How much did it go down?" "How much did it go down?" And she said, "It went down about $40. And I said, "Are you sure?" I said, that can't be right. That something is wrong. And I'll be honest with you, I said, "No, something's wrong. Someone made a mistake in billing. Please call PUB. Ask them to double check it because I don't want to have to end up paying after for something being charged, or they prorated wrong or something." I thought something was wrong. Well, she did. called back, and she asked them, they looked at it, and, they looked at it on a computer, whatever it was, they asked her to go read the numbers off the electric meter, and they said, no, everything's correct. And actually, I said, okay, that's fine. I got home, looked at the bill myself, and I said, this is too much, maybe $5, maybe $10. You know what it is? We consume less energy. That's what it is. That's got to be the reason. So I got all my bills out, and I looked at it, and I said, no, the energy consumption is about the same. And I'm still saving $40. So I was looking for a reason. I was looking for the error. Where was the error made? And I finally came to a conclusion that there was no error, that simply my bill was less. And I believe in holding public figures accountable. I believe in accountability, in transparency. Even though you're not elected officials, you are appointed officials that represent the community. And I don't know if it was just old-fashioned, hard work and with a side of commitment to the community, but I went to the extent to send a technician down to look at my meter. That's the next step I went. I said, something's wrong with my meter. It's broken. They went out there, looked at it, and they assured me that everything was correct, and my bill was correct, and that was what I needed to pay. So I feel that I'm not sure what it is you're doing. I'm not privileged to the intricacies of what you're doing, but what I'm concerned is the outcome of it. And the outcome of it was that this month I saved $40 on my bill, and it comes out to roughly about 25% reduction in my bill, which is significant for me. For me as a father of young children and the only person working in my household, it's very significant. In the accountability, I also think public figures should be accountable for when they do something well done. And today I want to tell you, job well done. Thank you. Whatever it is you're doing, please continue to do it. And thank you very much for allowing me to stand here and address you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Got a couple more things on my item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Eddie, you want to talk about the strategic plan? We're moving on our strategic plan, and we need some items to the board.
Very quickly, you may have found in your package a memo on kicking off the work session scheduled in strategic plan development and implementation. One of the initial kickoffs is very important, and that is the session with the board. I've given you a couple of dates, and really what I need is to get an indication from you what your preference is to do it in the evening of the 9th or the morning of the 10th. It'll be an hour and a half, depending on your discussion, no more than 2 hours. And it's real important that we get the full board there, as many participants. This will set the tone for a lot of the work that the staff is going to do. And this is the first session of what will be for the board. But this kickoff one is particularly important for the board.
Are these the only dates available?
We're trying to tie everything into the schedule that was provided in the scope. The consultants will be down. It will be the kickoff with the staff that morning.
I'm going to be out of town on the 8th, that 9th, 10th, 11th. I'll be here the 8th, so not the 9th, 10th, or 11th. So, it's right now.
The rest of the board, speakers?
I think so.
And would your preference to do it on the evening?
I would rather do it in the morning.
Okay. And I will tell you that,
How about you, Mr. Norman?
That's the difference to me.
You're the one that always does arrangements, but.
okay. So right now, it's looking like it'll be the 10th, and then we'll proceed with letting you all know and making all the arrangements for that day. Okay, thank you very much.
Last thing I had is Fernando wanted to talk about the street lighting on 48.
Okay.
Opening up the two maps that I'm going to be speaking from, Mr.
Chairman has asked us to take a look at some of the street lighting along Highway 48. So the first map that I wanted to
Give them the, podium there with the mic, please.
Thank you.
He's getting ready to tell me, right? The first map he's trying to pull up here is the one that shows the city limits line. And Chairman Sanchez had asked us to take a look at adding additional street lighting to the area from the overpass back into the city of Brownsville on Highway 48. We did, and the first map that you'll see is the city limits line. We did approach the city about increasing the amount of lumens or the lights that we were currently maintaining on 48, and we added a total of 25 lights to that area, which should have increased the lighting levels of that highway. Not each of those little yellow boxes is a light. Some are instructions to install conductors and other items to serve that. The city limits, as you can see, maybe you can't see here, but the area of the city stops right about here where the port is. So into the city of Brownsville, we've gone to the city and asked them to provide more lights in that area, and they did. We installed 25 and completed that installation 2 months ago. Now, areas outside of the city limits are the jurisdiction of the state highway department. We did convey to them, as well as we did to the city, that you had requested additional lights be installed for the safety and the illumination of the highway. And we've taken care of that issue for you. If you have any others that you would like for us to take
Well,
a look at.
actually, I do, this past week, there was, on 511 is it within the city limits, right?
A portion of it is.
Because there was that inmate that was let go from the Carrizales Rucker Center, and as she was walking on, as she hit 511, and it ran her over, and she passed away. Maybe some lights out there would have made a difference, but I think that's become such a populated area out there that it would, it would warrant some lights out there.
Well, we have conveyed that to the state highway department, for the request that Mr. Sanchez had made to us. It's outside of our area, our service area, so in certain cases.
Not on 511.
511.
Past the overpass,
No.
there's some AEP lines.
No. At that intersection of Old Alice and 511, it is inside the city. There are 3 lights there now. Not sure we're the provider or whether AEP is the provider. We only have a line that is the circuit that's going to serve the facility, which is the Rucker facility. So we need to look at, see who the provider is there. But there currently are 3 working lights that's right at the intersection of Old Alice and 511 on what would be the south side of 511, on the Carrizales facility side of 511.
If you will, just mark it down on that map for me.
I'll mark it
I'll
down.
look to see if it's something that we can initiate and complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're gonna move items 17, 14, and 13, right after number 3. So we move to item 17, consideration and possible action on approving a cost of living pay adjustment for Brownsville Public Utilities Board employees. Mr. Brusiak.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to ask Leandro Garcia to hand something out and go through some information on a suggested cost of living for our employees and what impact that'll have on our system.
Yeah, this agenda item requests a consideration of cost of living adjustment for all Brownsville PUB employees. We looked at, based on our performance, O&M, we looked at some cost savings here through the remainder of the year and have formulated a plan here to is affordable by the 3 utilities, electric, water, and sewer, and wastewater, as well as we looked at the impact of such a plan into fiscal year 2008 Two primary criteria we looked at, of course, were that it's affordable by each utility, that it doesn't affect rates, and that it doesn't impact our debt service coverage requirements as we formulate our plan for 2008. What we are proposing for your consideration is a 3.5% across-the-board increase effective May 14th. For this fiscal year, if we make that effective May 14th, it would require $324,232 in funding, of which $173,000 will be allocated to electric, $74,000 to water, and $76,931 to wastewater. Here again, no impact on our ending balance due to cost savings measures we're going to take in this year and funding availability. For 2008, the annualized impact totals $766,357, and this, of course, is the actual rate increase, those fringe benefits. For 2008, we did have, some close analysis as to the impact for debt service coverage ratios. We will be at 1.5 times or above for all three utilities. The $766,367 will be allocated to electric at $409,021, water $172,706, and wastewater at $104,639. Based on our analysis of consumer price index fluctuations or increases over the years, as reflected here in this summary, and based on the history of the board awarding cost of living to the employees, we feel that the timing may be appropriate. The funding is available without with minimal impact for this year, with controlled impact for next year. I want to go over the last cost of living was granted in 2000 for fiscal year 2006 in October 05, which was a tiered approach. Prior to that, we had awarded 3% in 2003 to employees in merit. That was in merit. No merit since 2003, and only one cost of living since 2003. So this is for your consideration, and I mentioned we've done an analysis of it once.
How many employees are 1 through 13 pay grade, and 14 through 18, and 19 through 99? Can you get that for us offhand?
Off the top of my head, where we had on the previous plan, well, on 472 allocated positions, about 84% is in the first tier.
In the first tier?
In the first tier, I believe.
84%?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. The second one, I don't have the numbers.
Falls off quite a bit.
It falls off quite a bit. Because that includes the
What I would
manager.
like to see is, the tier, the percentage of employees, and the cost. How they're impacted. And then compare the top with the bottom.
I have first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Ahumada for requesting this be put on here, because, we had promised this, if we could bring it back, we'd bring it back, and we did. But the problem that I have with, here comes a but the problem that I have with this is, if you're gonna do a 3.5% across the board, the guys that make less obviously get less of a raise than those that make more. What I would like to see, and something for the rest of the board to consider, is if we have, I see it's 324 for 07 and 760, 1.1 million. Just get the 1.1 divided between the 472 employees, and that way everybody gets the same raise.
On a dollar basis.
On a dollar basis. If it's 1.1 that it comes out with the formula, get the 1.1, divide by 472, and that way everybody gets
Let me bring up an issue. One of the things we had to consider here as we were trying to implement some of the Watson-Wyatt steps to correct some of the salary schedules was what they call compression. The result of some of the tier approach, the 10% and 5%, primarily between the first two groups, it does what you call create some compression. In other words, it moves some of the scales in the first tier up closer to the second tier, to where maybe somebody who's borderline more than likely create such a situation. We'd have to then go back and revisit the salary tables and see how then we could correct, that, that's the best, that's a good approach, of course, when you divide across the board, but nonetheless, the scales may be tilted a little bit, which will require future correction through the compression impact. Just an outcome, just want to make sure we caution you, if we have to come back later and adjust some of the scales for those that stayed more stable compared to those that moved upward, significantly.
This way, how would they would all move both the same, except the ones, the region being the top, if you go by the 3.5, the 3.5, the ones with the higher side are gonna move up more than the lower guys.
And the scales are fixed that way to where, they have ranges within each pay grade level to accommodate, some of that, range, so,
That's just a suggestion, I still like to see it that way, and have to fix, change,
Now, what do you think?
I think it's a very good idea. I mean, anytime that the utility's doing good and rates are low and the surplus is up and there's cautiously, to give, the staff, everybody involved an increase in pay, because I know that our folks here are paid less than comparable positions in other municipals. And I think that if we could just see that analysis a little bit more, in detail, and present the scenario that Chris is talking about, I mean, I would be in favor of it. I'd just like to see it more.
across the board dollars are unusual. That may work well when you're issuing comparable bonuses or comparable stability pay type of awards where it's based on more on a head count. And
I think if you could just show what you're recommending in your analysis with the percentages and what Chris said, so that we could see it and make a decision, that would be good.
we can do that.
I mean, that's what my input was.
I feel the same way as this gentleman, except
substantially, and we are in a very good financial condition, and I'm glad to hear that y'all have done excellent. I certainly committed to bringing this back around this time of year back then, and we did talk about the merit pay, but we said we'd review it. Remember, we didn't commit to doing it, we said we'd review it at the time we recall. What if we do the merit pay plus the way Chris proposes the dollar amount, the cost of living increase? Could you balance it out?
That would be a little difficult. Our affordability wise, 3.5%, whether you're awarded through cost of living or merit pay, is what we can do, especially in 2008. To do both,
Okay, with a plan to do the merit pay in 2008.
if we're talking about an additional $766,000 on top of something currently, awarding something currently, that will be a challenge in our water and wastewater utilities especially.
So you're talking about 3.5 now,
Yeah.
and then a merit increase instead of a 3.5 in 2008.
We can look at that further and see what we can absorb within the existing forecast.
I would say, let's do the 3.5% right now for 2007, amend the budget to allow for the remainder of 2007, and look at a new plan for 2008 budget, and we can get those figures we're talking about, get them upgraded for 2008. We don't need to go up to 2008 right now.
No, but we need to plan and let the employees know what.
Well, you'll be obligating 2008 already with these numbers, because that's how
That's what I'm saying,
our
we
budget
really don't
reflects
need to,
that.
because we are on the budget
They got
process
one
yet
numbers
for
from 08,
2008.
fiscal year 08.
But our commitment is to have no rate increases for 2008 and to stay within the bond covenant.
Definitely.
I mean, if not everybody's in agreement to proceed to 3.5% for 2008 also. Like I say, we could vote on 7 and hold 8 in advance until we get some more figures and look at different variations in the plan.
What happens if we turn it the reverse? Pay grades 1 through 3 get 3.5. What would that do?
Which pay grades? 1 13?
Yeah.
The old tier system, yeah. Oh,
The tier system, put it in reverse. You got 84% that are in the top, which are the higher pay scale.
No, the other way around.
Low pay scale, I'm sorry, low pay scale.
We can back into the percentage allocation based on the dollars. You know, we wanna hold the dollars as presented, because that's what we can afford.
Now, I still, okay, if we do approve the amounts, and we say stick to the same, tiers that we had done in October 5, you guys can work it out. But we know that this is the max cap dollar-wise, and we know the tier is gonna be, you know, more for grades 1 through 13, and then slightly less for 14 through 18, and 19 through 99, slightly less.
But that'll contribute to our compression
And
issue.
we can approve on an amount, I think that.
That will contribute to our compression issue and will require further review of the scales on a pay grade basis.
Well, I'm like Chris, 84% are at the bottom, you know, and I understand you wanna bring them up. I'm wondering, you know,
Well, that has to do how you're looking at the cost of living. I mean, we're presenting the CPI change because CPI reflects, buying power. You know, whether your buying power at this level or this level, the price of gas, the price of bread, the price of utilities is affecting everybody across the board the same, so that's why
If we were to give it to a true cost of living, it wouldn't be 3.5, it would be 2.4 or something like that.
well, that's cumulative through this year, but, you know, when you look at the years that we failed to recognize the CPI.
I think with the tiered level, I mean, it does give more, twice as much at the bottom than it does at the top.
yes, it does.
It's a lot fairer than just saying 3.5 across the board. So I think it's a good compromise.
But I think if we do the dollar amounts, Chris, you're gonna have a lot of disgruntled people, I believe. Because then it's not a cost of living raise.
That's more like a
It'd be
bonus,
yeah, it'd be like a bonus or a merit raise.
profit sharing or something where it's
Right.
really.
Yeah, I don't think it's your bonus.
And I think people will be demoralized, I think it would demoralize employees, although that's why I think we're doing the 7% for the pay grade 1 through 13, is that right? 1 through 13?
Well, that was
That's
done in
84
'05.
That's 84% of the employees.
I can argue that you keep it constant all night long, and one of the arguments is the scales are already adjusted to market demand for your workforce. We do hire at good scale levels for the lower individuals, mid-level. To assume that the low levels require more just because they're low, and disregard the market analysis that is done to hire at that level, at the market that service commands, that labor work, we're gonna have to go back and revisit that. If we're overpaying because we arbitrarily.
Either we table this, Chris, or, I think we need to go by staff recommendation, because we don't have enough data really to compare.
Well, I'm still saying, I'm thinking that we can go ahead and approve the '07, '05. But not do anything on the '08 yet, because we really don't have to budget for the '08 at this time. So I'd say hold '08 off until they bring us more figures, which was requested.
Yeah, we're just showing you what the impact would be.
Yeah.
That would be the obligation going into the '08 budget.
Right.
Our salary requirement will go up.
I would like to make a motion then, to go ahead and okay, like Mr. Guerra suggested, go ahead and okay, just so we won't have a vote on it today. And, I wouldn't wanna, stop somebody from getting the raises just because, but let's do
We
it.
promised them that
Let's
we
do it,
would do this.
let's do it for '07, and then bring it back, this way, and the way that I suggested, see how it would affect it. And,
Make the motion.
that is my motion.
My second.
Motion made by Mr. Valdez.
I've got a question. The way that what are you, I know 3.5 is $30, but it'd be dispersed 3.5 evenly through all of the grades?
Across the board, what every employee makes on an hourly basis will be adjusted by 3.5%, effective May 14th. It'll show up on that pay period.
For '07, unless you wanna wait till the next meeting.
Well,
and then-
no, they become permanent. That will be their base rate, effective May 14th.
But you see, that's my problem, see, because this is the tiered plan right here, but it's not tiered, like you say.
No, the tier is shown because for historical,
What we had done before.
was
Right.
did in
It's
05.
3.5, I mean, it's just,
3.5 across the board.
it's 3.5 across the board with somebody that's getting a $4,000 raise,
Well,
Other guys
well,
getting-
why don't you withdraw your motion and bring it back next month with a little more data?
But here again, I want to emphasize that current market rates are what the market dictates for each of the pay grades, so, I don't want to get that lost, let that get lost in the employee spectrum, the pay grade rate.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan, I know there's a motion on it, but, okay, obviously as the CFO, the 3.5% thing, there's no adverse financial impact, right? But how do you recommend it be dispersed? Just real quick.
I would recommend that we kind of continue our history and having a pay scale that reflects, the current market, rates. And we've worked with Watson Wyatt and adjusting those through various measures, and we still lack some that we can implement. So that we won't depart from that, and so that we won't create too much of a.
So you'd rather use this money by adjusting pay scale?
Across the board. I would recommend
Across the board?
across the board, 3.5, all employees.
Oh, you would, okay.
That's a traditional approach, most municipalities.
Another thing, if you look at like, for instance, your salary, okay? You get a good salary, okay? You work out a good deal to come here.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, and that's what the market,
But I wanna look at,
The market.
but I do wanna look at the market. I wanna look at the market as to what the pay scale is for your job description in a similar comparable, entity, okay? That's what I would like to look at, because maybe the 3.5 is going above what the market states, and you're getting more than what you should be getting, and that 3.5 should be going to the lower, okay? To where maybe you're capped out,
No,
no?
We completed
No,
a study and it is
they're in the
20%
first quartile,
difference.
why the very first quartile.
Okay,
Well, let's finish that again, but let's look at everybody.
Not in the first quartile.
okay,
I didn't
gentlemen.
say that yet, right?
Hey, there's a motion, Mr.
Here we go.
Chairman.
I was going there, okay. Before they make the payroll checks, which is coming up, there's a motion on the floor to, across the board, 3.5%.
Remainder 2007 only.
Right.
I mean, that's the motion?
That's
No,
right.
that's it, from now on, that's.
Yeah, impacts base rate, so it's from here on.
From here forward.
Well, yeah,
Here forward.
but on 2000, it doesn't do it
Yeah,
automatically.
you're also
Rate, we
recommending
have to-
another 3.5%.
Which you're gonna analyze in 08.
Which we're not gonna vote on at this
That's
time.
my motion. The 2008, we're gonna revisit.
There's a second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We now move to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this.
We now move to item 14. Consideration and approval to require all contractors and subcontractors doing work for the Brownsville Public Utilities Board to pay a minimum wage of at least $8 per hour. Mr. Almada.
I brought this to the attention of the board because we're always putting out contracts for bid, and we can't control what contractors are paying their employees. So when we look at a bid, we look at the face value of the bid, so much, but I think it creates a unlevel playing field when one contractor can hire maybe illegals and pay them cheap labor, or hire and pay them very low wages. And another contractor who's maybe better qualified and paying better employees, a better salary, a higher number, he can't compete. There's a disparity there. So when they come here, we may be awarding to the less, lower bidder, but maybe not the best qualified person to do the job, or contractor to do the job, based on the personnel.
Yeah, but see, that's probably what the staff is raising with the information. We've had work with these people, they do good work, but they don't do good work. A guy could come in and say, yeah, I'll pay all my employees $8 an hour, and I'm paying them, and I raise my bid, and I pay them only $5 an hour. There's no way we can control that.
I think it could be a requirement that it requires all contractors to pay a minimum of $8 especially the labor. Can it be done, Councilman?
You can require it, I don't know that you enforce it, yeah. Enforce people,
I just would like to see.
I don't know that you can, determine what
The criteria?
what they're doing that.
No, okay, we make it as part of the criteria to where, here, we're putting out for bids, you gotta pay at least a minimum of $8 an hour to your employees, the contract, or your labor.
Just want to add that we currently, when we spec out the construction type of work, we do provide in the bid spec, in the RFP, whatever, the latest Department of Labor wage guidelines. So we do encourage compliance with that. So, if we can find a way to enhance that and
Yeah, but minimum wage is, and then somebody else is paying a higher rate, and they try to get the bidding, and the bidding is higher because they're paying better wages, it puts them out of the bidding process.
But even the playing field, we could make, if you so desire to make it $8 through the bidding process, we could state that up front, and everybody would be at an equal playing field, submitting proposals based on those minimum requirements.
I would like to do that based on that. I mean, I know, we can't solve all the problems, but I think we can at least try to make it fair and competitive. And based on that, I think everybody deserves to make a good living. I'm blessed, and I think all of us here are blessed. And I think we should give, some considerable thought to this and implement it as part of the policy to where it's a requirement. It's stated there. I make a motion to adopt that policy.
Motion on the floor to adopt that policy.
I'll second it.
And second by Mr. Valadez. And, there's a question.
Not a question, but I commend Mr. Amala for looking for ways to improve the quality of life in our community and increasing wages. That's a very good thing. I just can't support that on the vote because I have some difficulty in dictating to subcontractors on things that are kind of the outside of federal laws and mandates, like you can't do this and you can't do that. Hiring illegal aliens is against the law, et cetera, et cetera. In addition, I think that it will sometimes can put us at a comparative disadvantage when we're trying to provide some utility service compared to AUP and some of the other things. So although I recognize the value in that, I just can't vote.
How are we gonna enforce it? That's the other issue, the enforcement aspect of it.
Right, plus the enforcement issue.
Well, what he's saying, I believe, is for it to go on the bid sheet
And
and things like that. It's just like an alert. It's an alert to a subcontractor or contractor.
Right.
The enforcement's
Because
another
let me tell
issue.
you, somebody reports that they're not going by the bid sheet, next time they come around, we just won't give them a contract. And that's a hammer we have.
But you're also on the downside, is you're guaranteeing to raise all the bids. And it's gonna be more difficult for us to bid to, give out to lower bids and save money and all that because you're requiring them to go up on their bid.
Well, I want to ensure a quality, workforce that is taking on the contracts for PUB, that's what I want to ensure.
Okay, before any more discussion, we have a motion on the floor and a second. We obviously have a nay. 2 nays, 3 yeas, it passes. We're now moved to item number 13. Item number 13.
That was a call for a vote.
Yeah, he did.
I did, sir. I did, it went through, but then some discussion happened, and then we finally got a vote out of that. Number 13, consideration and approval of extension of a consulting services agreement for the Brownsville Matamoros Weir and Reservoir Project. Mr. Campirano.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the PUB and the Cameron County through the Regional Mobility Authority entered into an interlocal cooperation agreement for consulting services on the Brownsville Matamoros Weir and Reservoir Project. The Weir project represents one of the important components of PUB's long-term water supply strategy. One of the weaknesses of the project has not been having the representation in Mexico to deal directly with the Mexican entities that will be involved in development of the project. To this end, PUB entered into the agreement with the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority to utilize its consultant, Mr. Arturo de las Fuentes, with the Cruces y Puentes Internacionales to provide these services. We did it for a 90-day period for first quarter. I can tell you, and the reports are included in your package, that it has been very, very helpful. Again, in the past, we have been hesitant simply because we did not know how to approach getting a consultant in Mexico. Believe me, we have been approached many times from consultants in Mexico who have told us many things about what they can and cannot do. The county did provide a proven record of an individual who was able and has been able to help us refine some of the issues, especially in dealing with Mexico related to the project. We would recommend that for the balance of the fiscal year, which would take us through the end of September, that we extend the contract with the county through the Regional Mobility Authority under the same terms and conditions, so we can continue to work on the necessary process to get Mexico and the United States through the appropriate agencies, the IBWC and the CELA, to begin to move this project forward. We've got commitment and interest, but it isn't just about commitment and interest. It's about no different than on the U.S. side. Remind everyone that on the U.S. side, to get the permit from the state of Texas, it took us 11 years. To get the federal permit, construction permit on the U.S. side, it took us 2 years. Well, the same is the process in Mexico, because you have multiple entities, both at the federal and the state level, and we've just not had the ability to understand who to coordinate, who needs to be involved, and what the consultant has provided us through the assistance of the county is a much clearer, definitive picture of who these entities are, and we need to move this project. So we would recommend that we extend the terms and conditions through the end of the fiscal year for these services.
Let me ask you, is any big money going to be going to any money exchange houses?
No, sir.
What
The check
oversight?
goes directly to the county regional mobility authority.
And let me just say that,
What oversight is there?
One is that we do get the monthly report. Any incidental expenses that may occur as a result of this, we are the ones that sign off on them or will approve them, and those may be outside of any meetings that are scheduled, that we have any special requirements of the consultant. We would approve those ahead of time. For the 90 days that we've done it, we've probably done more progress in terms of pinpointing and getting to understand and identify and directly, who do we need to go to and what are the issues associated with the project in Mexico than we had for the last year and a half. I can tell you that very definitively.
let me just say that, since I've been here, 3 years that I've been here, the Weir project, although we always had our ducks in line, we got all our permits, basically we've got grant money that's just sitting there, we've got budgeted monies that are there. We never had any communication with Mexico. Now, or we had, but like Mr.
Not as targeted, not as
said,
strategic.
we were going at it blind and amazed to see, kind of like the Fort Mid over there, and they got burned, but the county has already worked with Mr. De La Fuente from the Cruces y Puentes Internacionales, and this man has a proven record. He's gotten projects done. We've gotten, and we moved this project along in the last 3 months, like Mr. Campiano said, that, and it's all to the work and to the help that the county administrator, Mr. Pete Pula, and his assistant David Garcia have given us.
They're here, if you have any questions of them.
I talked to them enough,
He might have talked to him enough.
well, but I mean, if you guys have, I talked to them.
But let me tell you something, my experience in Mexico has been very bad when it comes to these kind of situations. And Mexico is a great country, I love Mexico, it's the country of my ancestors, but I don't trust some of the individuals you do business with, because they'll necessarily do it the best and most ethical ways, okay? Based on that, we have experience of getting projects done. It's just a matter of getting the right people and the right commitment to get them done and using the right resources to get them done. One project, for instance, is like the Montes Bridge. I'm concerned that we're stepping into an area of paying consultants that we have no control over, and they want to take us down a rosy path, just like the Port Bridge. Today is an extension of another $25,000, and 6 months from now, it'll be another $50,000, and they'll always hold a carrot there, that they're making, in paper, it looks good, but we have no way of overseeing it. None. No checks and balances, no accountability. And based on that, I cannot support it.
Our control over it is that we, well, I mean, we won't fund it the next, 6 months
Or if you want to
from now,
cap
we
it,
won't fund
Mr.
it.
Ahmad, but
We don't
I mean,
like
I
it.
think your concerns are very well taken, and I mentioned them myself.
Our
I know.
hesitancy in the
Our
past has been exactly that, and that's one of the reasons we have not done it, because we have not found someone or could rely on someone who can
Have
present
actually got
someone who
some
we believe is reputable and has that proven track
and have
record
got
on
some projects
the
done.
kinds of projects and the kinds of agencies that we will be dealing directly with until the county, discussions with the county, and they offer to provide those assistance. And because we have been very cautious, we've never done this before.
And like the alternative is, like we said, our side has done all the work.
We have
We're
to-
ready. Now,
we have-
if you don't wanna pursue with Mexico at all,
I do.
okay, well then, you know, I think that this is a good step because I think your concerns are being answered by, we got a person that has shown that he can get it done. He's shown
Was he involved
projects.
in the Los Tomates Bridge?
Mr. Sepulveda, county administrator, could answer that.
I mean, if it is, then you're right, he's shown that he can get it.
He's got projects done, and this is the difference between us and the port. I mean, the guys that they had over there, they had no projects done.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Directors. My name is Pete Sepulveda, and I'm here in my capacity as the coordinator for the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority. The individual that we're talking about is an individual that has vast experience working with the different federal and state agencies throughout the Republic of Mexico. An extremely credible individual. Name of his firm is Cruces y Puentes Internacionales. He has worked on the West Rail relocation project probably from day one. Both his capacity with the state of Tamaulipas and then with his private firm. And we have moved that project in record time. It's very important, and you know, we saw this when we did Los Tomates, and I can tell you I've been involved in 4 different international bridge projects, you know, in Far Eagle Pass and in Brownsville. And while you can do a lot on the U.S. side, it's very important that whatever you do on the U.S. side, you do in Mexico also. It's a binational project, it's an international project, very complex, and whatever progress you make on the U.S. side, you have to ensure that you do on the Mexican side, otherwise you're not going to move your project forward. While you might have all the permits that are necessary or required on the U.S. side, if you're not coordinating on the Mexican side, then you're not going to move forward. When we first started talking to your staff about this gentleman about 4 or 5 months ago, and we did the 90-day agreement, you know, the county or the Regional Mobility Authority would have not recommended this firm or this individual if we didn't know that it was a credible individual. And I can tell you that we have moved the project forward on the West Road project in record time. You know, you do have your checks and balances. Every invoice that is submitted on a monthly basis, it comes with a detailed activity report or status report on the different meetings and the different progress that is made on a monthly basis. You know, on a daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis, he's in touch with your staff here at PUB. So there are a lot of checks and balances that you have as a board. If for any reason you feel that there's no progress being done on the Mexican side.
Well, let me add this. I'm sure what you say you believe, and I have no reason to doubt you. What I'm saying is I'm sure the port directors were told the same thing. They had credible people working on this, and I'm sure they had the best intentions and they had faith in individuals that maybe even were told they had experience. My colleague here doesn't know what they were told, what they were not told. For him to say that, you know, this makes a difference on them, I find that, you know, questionable because none of us were there. But we know that we're out $21 million, okay? And we're looking at spending $25,000 in 4 months, which we know is not going to get the WIR project done. We're going to have to come back and pour more money. Now, as former mayor, I worked on that Los Tomates Bridge. I don't recall us hiring and paying for a consultant to do our part in Mexico, okay? And I caution my colleagues here, just because you feel comfortable and you're recommending, okay, this is public money. It's easy to spend somebody else's money. But when I spend, I've done deals in Mexico. I lost a lot of money in Mexico because of it, and now you know that. And millions of dollars. Cost me my livelihood, you remember that? Yeah? You know, so I have quite a bit of experience dealing with people that were experienced, and they gave me the best assurances, and I got nothing. I lost everything. Okay? And based on that, I want to caution this body. Don't go into an agreement here that we're not in control with, and here we're not in control with. No matter what you may say. Let me finish, colleague, please. We're not in control of it, no matter what you may say, okay? We have an embassy we should be working with the appropriate agencies. We have a congressman. We have departments to work with, because Mexico needs the water just as much as we do. But to be paying a consultant when we don't know how it's going to be, how much it's going to cost, I think it's very speculative and very risky. And based on that, I cannot support it.
Well, Mr. Amaya, you have supported in the past, you voted for the first payment.
Yeah, but I reconsidered it because I've looked into this more and more, and when I got my packet, I started questioning, now it's coming back again. How many times is it going to come back again?
Question from Al?
Hey, I mean, we just, the total amount is due. I take out my checklist, I'm gonna say, okay, you did that, you did everything you said you were gonna do, understanding that you're not gonna get the final permit in 6 months. And at least I have something to measure against, or are we gonna get into something, well, he's made progress, but, you know, the definition of real progress and progress can vary from person to person. So how are you gonna hold him accountable, and what is he gonna produce for this?
This is what we want to produce in 6 months. We want to produce an agreement in writing, reduced to writing, on what the issues are, what each entity's responsibility, and a timeline for moving them forward. We have, for example, what you have, it may hear in Matamoros may be entirely different than what you may hear in Monterrey, or who you have to deal with in Mexico City, or what entity, is it going to be SILA, is it going to be CNA, you know, each of them have their own specific responsibility. We also have the diplomatic issues, and we have to go through the diplomatic channel. We have our IBWC, who will represent the United States at the table with Mexico. You have the Mexican counterpart, which is SILA, Comisión Internacional Límites de Agua. But even they have to coordinate the participation of the various entities. On the U.S. side, you've got IBWC that will have to coordinate participation by the U.S. agencies. And on the Mexican side, you will have SILA that will have to coordinate the participation of the Mexican entities. Well, our goal on this process is to get a written accord that will delineate who is supposed to do what by what date so we can move the project forward. I can tell you that the project has been around a long time. We have certainly had a lot of more progress on the U.S. side because we understand that process. We know who to talk to. It's not to say that we haven't gone to Mexico and talked to people, but, you know, if I go, you know, I can go talk to the governor, I can go, but even then understanding what that process and who are the real decision makers. He's helped us identify who they are, what the issues are, who needs to come to the table, helping us coordinate with both IBWC and SILA to coordinate that coming to the table, that meeting, to reproduce what our goal is, to have that written accord that will identify the responsibilities, and we hope to have that by within this period, the 6-month period.
Okay, and I guess what I want, are you the one that reviews everything, and the one that, are you the representative that speaks to him and about his progress?
We speak directly to him.
Okay, but then, I know how important that WEIR project is and everything that's invested at the time. It does sound like he's made progress. You know, I'll support the expenditure of the $50,000, but only on the condition that there is an actual, some kind of measurement, a scorecard, a grade sheet of his commitment, what he's gonna do the next 6 months. So then when we come back and we talk about this in 6 months, that scorecard is presented so we can see, yes, he is doing what he is supposed to be doing, and that we measure him that way going forward. If, however, we have a memorandum of understanding that, okay, these are the things you're going to do, and he accomplishes none of those things, or very little of those things, and then I would be in favor of pursuing somebody else that can get the job done, because I know we do have to spend money to get it done.
Now,
It's just that, are we spending it with the right person?
Now, let me just say this, when I first came out here, you know, I questioned PUB's purchase of the land for the weir. Because we said it, other board members said it, we're buying land for the placement of the weir without even talking to Mexico and see if they're for it. They, you know, you talk, yeah, good idea. Yeah, great idea. But then, you know, and that happened, and Mr. Sepulveda, correct me if I'm wrong, but this particular lobbyist, I mean, when he talked to the Mexican side, one of their first concerns was, yeah, well, we approve it. Finally, when he got to the people that they were supposed to talk to, they said, yeah, well, we like the idea, but we don't like it there, let's move it over here. And there was some concessions that needed to be made on other projects by the county working together in order to get something done. And let's just, I want to remind us, but that we went to the county for assistance in this. I mean, we searched for them because we have $17.5 million appropriated in grant monies, with $2.5 more million, bringing it possibly to $20 million. Now, I understand $25,000 cannot be compared to $21 million when we have $20 million already appropriated, you know, for this project. Basically, we've got a presidential permit. We've done everything on our side. Mr. Amada, if you're willing to go ahead and lose these monies and drop the project, well, I mean, what assurances do you want? I mean, we've seen progress.
We've done our part. Mexico has a need. They need to do their part, and we need to work with them. Okay, and I don't have a problem with that. But we're hiring somebody who's not even, can sell you pie in the sky, okay? I've seen it. We saw with the fishing permits. You remember the fishing permits with Mexico? That was a repeated ripoff, and they never got fishing permits, okay? You remember, as mayor, as former mayor, when we wanted to get generation from Mexico, I got a meeting set up in Mexico with Comisión Federal de Electricidad with the director, like that. Am I right? We went there and we got the energy we wanted. Did we not? We didn't need a consultant. And who ended up benefiting from that? CP&L through that line. Is that right? Okay? We need no consultant. And you tell me that if Los Tomates Bridge, we didn't hire a consultant to do the Mexican part. We did our part. Now, they have a need. If they don't want to cooperate, okay, and meet their need, well then, I think we're talking to the wrong people. And we need to work with our embassy. We need to work with the proper agencies instead of paying people that are not going to deliver. I'm cautioning you. I'm not going to support it, but if I'm outvoted, that's fine.
Let me just put my 2 cents in there. The interlocal cooperation agreement is between the Cameron County Regional Mobile Authority and the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. Number 3, the authority will utilize their general engineering consultant to perform the task. Number 4, the rules, regulations, and orders of the authority, remember this, orders of the authority shall govern this agreement, and the parties agree that the authority shall supervise the performance of this agreement. It's pretty much, we're leaving the weir project up to the Cameron County Mobile Authority. Somebody like Ray Ramon and them are in charge now of the weir project. That makes me very concerned. Why, who did this agreement where the authority is in total control? That doesn't make sense.
One is that I don't want to characterize that we've been blindly pursuing this project for years. We've spent a lot of time and energy. We've had numerous meetings with Mexico. Mexico has officially, as a nation, said the project is a valuable project, it brings benefit to the region, and they want to pursue it. Saying it and doing it are 2 different things. We're at the part where we want them to begin to do it. The regional mobility...
mayor to get it done, just like we did this.
Perhaps we will have one.
You can always
Help us with that.
You can always help us.
Let's put it to the vote.
That was my motion. I make a motion.
Let's put it to the vote.
I make a motion. This is stopping from helping us. I make a motion to go ahead and approve.
I second. Okay, you make a motion? Okay, that's motion
Well,
made.
of course, with the report, Mr., with the progress report in 6 months, it's saying if we have something in writing.
Well, we get them we don't get them every 6 months. We receive a monthly report. We are in communication. The vehicle that we use to engage as consultant is what you're looking at. Don't believe that, this prevents, the consultant deals with us directly. deals with us directly on a far greater basis than it deals with the county. Now, there are certain things that the county has been able to provide us because of their expertise and because of their knowledge of what has occurred in getting the West Rail project that has been very useful to us.
Okay. The county got a bunch of reports too, and they weren't worth the paper they were written on. But let's put it to a vote.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye? Okay, no, I'm sorry, I didn't vote, I'm sorry, I'm just giving. Okay, so how many ayes do we have? Three.
Nay.
Nay, and I'm gonna abstain. The reason being I'm abstaining is because I never was invited to the Cameron County Mobile Authority with the city commission. Nobody ever invited me to the meeting, and now we're coming in here, so I'm gonna abstain. But the motion passes 3 to 1 to 1.
Time will tell.
Mr. Campirano, do get involved with that. Don't let the authority just control the situation. I want the PUB to be reporting back to us and being very involved in
I
that.
have a meeting with a consultant tomorrow at 5:15 in the morning. You're more than welcome to join me.
I just want to mention, we've been here a lot of years, fellow board members, and finally something's getting done here, and then you guys want to get. What?
Number 5, item number 5.
Don't take it personal, Chris.
Item number 4.
Not you, Mr. Mayor. You can leave it, right?
Consideration and approval to amend the fiscal year 2007 capital improvement plan budget. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, this item requests authorization to amend our CIP budget by $703,476. Part of it is housekeeping, $302,932.55 for items purchased, authorized for purchase in 06 but completed in 07. And then we have $400,000 on scheduled items which will seek authorization from the board here, some of those tonight. We do recommend the approval of this item to amend our budget. Funding source is surplus monies, 06 carryover surplus monies. Any questions?
Make motion. Make motion, please.
Motion made by Mr. Amara, seconded by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion passes. Item, let's see, we have a request.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the following motion, that we approve item numbers, go with staff recommendations on items number 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. 6, approving that subject to legal counsel review of the contract and approval of the contract.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Motion made by Mr. Villar for 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 to approve.
Subject on number 6.
Subject on number 6.
To be reviewed by staff.
To be reviewed by staff
And council.
and council. Seconded by Mr. Valadez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 6, they're gonna come back with an itemized list of everything we asked for, right? Okay?
Attorney's going to approve it.
All those against? The motion passed. Now we move on to item number 8. Consideration and approval to reject bid for the annual sludge hauling contract B035-07 and to extend the current contract with a clean portico. Ms. Gomez.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the PUB Purchasing Department received the bid for the annual sludge hauling contract on March the 7th. There were 3 vendors. The bids received did not meet specifications. The EPA requires the water to be removed from sludge fires to being hauled to the landfill site, which would require additional equipment and manpower. We have now hired an environmental engineering firm, Anderson Engineering, and they will provide a list of options, including cost analysis and bid specifications for the sludge hauling and disposal operations. And at this time, PUB staff recommends the rejection of the submitted bid and an extension of a modified contract with Clean Portico for approximately 6 months. The Clean Portico has agreed to continue hauling the sludge for the current process at a cost of 3 cents per gallon for both plants, which is an increase of 0.00963 cents per gallon at the north plant and 0.00992 gallons from the south plant. And we're estimated 24 million gallons of sludge will be hauled during those 6 months, which would be April 1st, 2007 to September, the end of September 2007, for a total estimated cost of $720,000. Also, there will be no roadway improvement during this time. They usually do the roadway improvement, and that happens about once a year, so we will be doing that. The PUB staff recommends the rejection of the bid for the annual sludge hauling contract and approval to extend the modified contract with Team Portico for approximately 6 months for an amount not to exceed $720,000.
Ms. Gomez, real quick, why did they extend the contract? I know we extended it with Portico, but why not at the old price, since I don't see a bid from him? He never gave a bid, but he went up to 3 cents, a difference of $482,000, yet he didn't give a bid. We just extended it to him and gave him 3 cents. Why didn't we stay at his historical bid from last year?
Well, actually, the price hasn't increased in 6 years, and,
So it was a negotiated price?
it's a negotiated price, yes.
Either that, or we have to go out and
It'll cover cost.
we lose service.
Also,
I make the motion. Make a motion. Motion by Mr. Ahumada. To reject. As recommended by staff. Reject bid and accept the modified contract. To reject the bid and accept staff recommendation. That's a second. And seconded by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor? Any against? Motion passes. We now move on to item 11. Consideration and approval of the selection of an engineer for the design and construction inspection of a proposed 2 million gallon elevated water storage tank. Ms. Gomez.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, we did put this on here, sometime the board, because we did interview firms tonight. If you're not ready to do it, we put it on here if the board is ready to make a decision, so.
I think we can look at, it's fresh in our memories right now.
Yeah, sure.
And you rank them, okay, let's look at the rankings real quick. Okay, Tank Industry Consultants and NRS. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. The rankings is, Tank Industry is 93 points out of 100, and NRS 85.50. How much of a difference is it? I mean, how much? NRS is local, okay? And I think that weighs something in everybody's mind here. Tank Industry, where are they from? That's not the only criteria we go by, of course, but where are they from?
Where yeah, Dallas, I think.
Dallas, okay. What's the difference in the ranking there? I mean, how significant is it? Because it's not that much. It's really not that much.
I think the difference in their ranking was an experience of some of the individuals in NRS. Probably. I don't remember correctly.
39.25 compared to 34.5.
Okay, TIC is the Woodlands, Texas, Houston area.
Well, not going on, you know, if we're gonna go,
What's your recommendation? What's staff's recommendation?
it's up to the board.
No, did you make a recommendation or not?
No, according to the numbers that we have there.
Okay.
Charge is 40.
I mean, the only thing that NRS beat these guys on was on presentation. On the presentation, experience, qualifications, completeness, the other guys beat them. They built over 7,500 water towers to 25. In the past 25 years, the firm that came up with the highest grade, they built over 7,500 towers to 25. And based on that, on the rank.
We never did ask, TIC how many 2 million gallons of water tower they had done.
I'm sure it's a lot more than 6. Three, yeah.
But one might need to consider NRS will buy their materials locally, and the other gentleman from Woodlands might build the tank pieces over there and buy the material out of the Houston area.
They're working with Gonzalez Engineering, that local engineer in town. Now, another thing, and this, I've always said I don't like this. We approve these things without them, I mean, here you are, we rank them, and then we hire them, and then they could charge whatever. I always like to see them
Well,
bid.
what we're doing here, members of the
You don't
board,
negotiate?
no, we're hiring the engineer to design it. And they would prepare documents, it would be bid, bring that back. Besides that, whoever you select tonight, we would bring the contract back to the board. We would negotiate a contract, bring it to the board for approval. If we don't like that price, then we go to the other firm. So you're not, only thing you're approving is
Selection of
the professional firm, and then we would bring it back.
You design and recommend contractors,
Well, we would design it, go out for bids, bring the bids back, and recommend them.
I'm gonna make the motion for the local firm. That's up to you guys whether you wanna support that.
You know, I think in the presentation, they said there's only a handful of contractors actually do the work. So pretty much, we are one engineering firm, and the other one, they're gonna use the same contractor, just gonna be the specs and all the engineering work that has to be done.
Well,
Is that not accurate?
well, they're gonna design the tank,
Right,
and then the contract, the tank builders will bid on it.
a little bit on, but there's only gonna be a handful.
There's only a couple of builders can composite tank.
Can't,
Right now, we're talking about the.
can't we go ahead and get the local guy, the two top ranked firms, obviously, one's beat them by 8 points. One got 93, one got 85.
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion.
I made a motion for the local NRS.
There's a motion on the floor for the. It dies for lack of a second.
NRS, is there a second there?
I think I'll make the second, I think that the scores, one is higher, but both scores are perfectly acceptable. And since they're perfectly acceptable, in my opinion, that I would prefer to go with local.
We have a motion by Mr. Amata, a second by Mr. Villarreal for NRS Engineering. All those in favor? Aye. Aye, that's three. All those against?
Nice.
Aye. Any abstentions? I'll vote for. Local, okay. So it's 4-1, NRS gets that contract there. Okay, now we move on to item number 12. Consideration and approval of reimbursement to the University Park for existing wastewater improvements. Ms. Gomez.
Okay, back in January 2004, University Park approached the Brownsville PUB concerning development in the University Park subdivision. There are existing water and wastewater utilities which were installed early in the 70s and were never put into service. And then they became part of the PUB water and wastewater system when the city of Brownsville annexed the area. A letter of commitment by the PUB was given to a previous proposed development, ensuring that the existing water and wastewater system would be upgraded and put back into service, provided that the existing system was utilized in its existing location. The associated cost with the needed upgrades for the entire system was an estimated $4.2 million by the PUB water and wastewater engineering staff. The University Park Plaza is utilizing the existing geometry of the area and proposed to abandon the existing system, provided that the PUB would participate on a 60-40 split, 60% PUB and 40% the University Park. On the proposed wastewater improvements that would only include the lift station and the force main. An invitation to bid was advertised by a Holder Engineering Company in accordance to the City of Brownsville purchasing guidelines. The bids were opened by Holder Engineering Company with 2 bidders responding. The lowest bidder being Rico Construction, and the overall low bidder, the cost was a total of $1,162,877. And a total cost for the proposed lift station and force main, which are the 3 items named there, for an amount of $224,820, with a PUB 50% commitment of $134,892. The PUB staff recommends approval of the reimbursement to university for the University Park for the existing wastewater improvements in an amount not to exceed of $134,892.
Let me make a comment, it's kind of a confusing route, but let me summarize it in a few words. This is the Amigo Land property down here across from Amigo Land Mall. And when I came to PB in the late 70s, that project was built, and the utilities were put into place, the PUB accepted the utilities, and the project, nothing ever developed. So for 28 years, the utilities have laid idle. There's some new developers that come in here that basically said, Abraham Brownsville, basically said they would, what would we do? We said, would you connect, build the way the original layout is, those are our systems. We went out and started to test the system, it was all deteriorated, we were gonna have to rebuild the entire subdivision. The developer came back and countered and said, if I go a different route than the existing, could you share in the cost of the utilities, the new route, which is a steal for us?
And John, we committed to that, right?
Yes.
I mean, we already committed to 60/40.
Also,
Well, I mean, subject to board approval,
Subject to board
but my opinion is,
The new route is a better route? The new route that they're proposing is better than the old route?
much less,
benefits PUB.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Valdez, seconded by Mr. Amado. All those in favor?
I just wanna clear something. This is just for the first phase, there's gonna be another phase. But even if it comes up to about that amount, it will be a lot less than what it would cost us.
savings of
Okay,
millions of
so we're
dollars.
basing this off the GG, because your base bid is lower for Rico Construction, but items 45, 46, and 47 are lower for cost center, right? So, but we're basing this off of items 45, 46, and 47.
That's correct.
So we have a motion, all those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes. We now move to item number 15. Item 15, consideration and approval to develop a park along PUB Drive. Mr. Almada.
Okay, we lost a valuable member of the community who developed this whole area. There was the Gore family. I happened to live in one of their homes. John Gore served on the PUB kayak board. He was very involved in land development here. And I think it was just appropriate. I walked my dogs through here and passed through that vacant land that PUB owns there in the Resaca. And I was thinking that it would be appropriate to convert it to a park in his memory and name it after John Gore or the Gore family, however this board would like to name it. But I propose to name John Gore and be converted to a park with at least a minimal amenities like a barbecue pit and benches and stuff like that. Because the land's not being used for anything other than people just go there and relaxing.
What I would propose is that you approve it, give it the city and come back with a plan to, layout for y'all to approve it, but.
Jackie, I know the Resaca,
It's right behind, the pool. No, aquatic.
Strip of land.
Oh, that strip, okay.
Beautiful street,
I'd like to say that John, name it after John's fine, but I would recommend the Gore family, since his dad had a whole bunch to do with the development in town, purchasing all that land and stuff. Maybe it would be,
I would like to
besides
be,
the Gore family.
I don't wanna debate this issue.
Well, let's just go ahead and vote on the concept of developing this, into a park. Looking at maybe Gore naming after one or more of the Gore family.
Let me do this, let me make the motion this way. I propose that this be up to the Gore family to name the park.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Amado, seconded by Mr. Valdez, for the general manager to work with the city of Brownsville to develop a park. All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes.
Thank you, Joe.
We now move to item 16, consideration and approval of authorizing the general manager and chief executive officer to obtain bids for a portable substation. Mr. Almada and Mr. Valdez.
The city's growing quite a bit, and if you come here at any given day, you see a lot of people having to wait. And they're taking time off of work to bring their concerns or their problems here to customer service. And the wait may be too long for those who have to punch a clock. They don't have that flexibility.
Excuse me, this is for a portable substation, not
Yeah, I know.
a pay station.
Substation.
Yeah, as we talked about having a substation in the event of a hurricane taking out one of our substations.
Oh, okay, I thought it was a pay station.
We did that last month,
Okay.
but we're bringing that, we bring it.
You're gonna bring it back, right?
Yes, we are.
Because you were gonna go out and look for,
And I'm meeting with people this week.
okay, I'm sorry, my apologies.
I'm sorry,
My apologies, because I asked you to look into
both of them.
both of them,
Yeah.
same thing. My apologies.
Now, but this one was just
This
like.
is, we had talked about the need of a, Magic Valley has 4 plus 8, you had many
Right.
of them.
Let me ask you
What's the
this.
point of, we need one in the event?
What do we rent these for? I know we rent these.
No, we don't.
Well, when we have to, what do you pay for?
Oh, they're expensive.
Well, I make the motion to go ahead and to support it, to allow the general manager.
What do you mean by substation?
Well, like these substations, like on 802 or Waterford, that convert high voltage to lower voltage.
If that were to, if one of those were to go out in the event of a hurricane, how long would it take for us to put it back online?
No, you would have
The
it
lead,
on
the lead
standby.
time on ordering one and then having it show up here.
Time frame more or less?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
2 years.
But you can transport it throughout the committee and get it started in case.
No, I'm talking about the substation that we have right now in place, like on
2 years.
This particular unit that we're talking about is portable because it can go from this substation to another substation. Wherever the problem occurs, that particular unit can be placed in there. We've done improvements to our substations and our transmission system to allow us to do that. If you happen to have a problem, we'd have to go try to look for one, and more than likely at that point in time, they're not that easily available. And if they're available, you're gonna pay an arm and a leg for
I
it.
think we have enough money in our reserves, and we've gone to a point that.
I think we need to plan and be proactive because in case of a disaster, we need to be able to be mobile, okay? And respond right away as soon as we can. And by planning now for future needs, we do have the money, okay? And we're no longer a hick town or a small town. And I think it'd be wise of us to authorize the general manager to look into it and see what we can do to get one.
Let me just add one more thing, and that is, we talked about T-cost recovery. An item like this portable substation can be put into T-cost and that entire cost recovered.
Oh, great. Oh, great, Steve.
There's a,
Part of what makes our system as well as the ERCOT system better.
Well, I'm glad I put it on the agenda.
we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Valdez.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Guerra, all those in favor? Aye. Any against? Motion passes. We now go to the consent agenda items.
If nobody has any problem, I would like to approve 1 to 12.
The only thing I have is, number one, I want to abstain. I was not at the meeting, so I can't, say what happened or approve the minutes.
Let's do
Abstain
this.
on number one, I have no problem with it.
Okay, so
The
the,
motion, well, let's do 2 through 12 and then do 1, is that right?
yeah,
That'd be better? That'd be better, Councilman?
you can do one. Whatever you want, you can abstain from voting on.
Okay.
Number one and
Motion to
aye on all
approve
the
1
rest.
to 12.
okay, there's been a motion by Mr. Ahmada to approve 1 through 12, and seconded by Mr. Valdez.
And let the record show.
Let the record show that the Honorable Robert Guerra abstained from item number 1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes to pass all the consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion to end this meeting.
Motion by Mr. Ahmada to adjourn the meeting,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Valdez.